So when you enter my house, I have this garden right here. And it is Tater, who stay in the center of my living room, my little office area in the back. It's a tiny little apartment that we're currently living in. And this is all the gardening space I have. So this is happening right now while I'm trying to record. So yeah, this is the small amount of gardening space that I have. But I've got a lot going on in there. This is the top shelf, or actually top two shelves, because I bought this little greenhouse and pulled out the wire shelves on it so that these could grow up. And these are my dwarf tomatoes. Only the middle two pots are actually fruiting right now, and we eat them pretty fast, but when we get a little closer, I'll show you just how much those two little dwarf tomatoes are putting off. So while we've got bright red ones that are pretty obvious, and I've got another couple tomatoes down below, we also have a ton of green, and again, this is just on two plants. The other ones are still babies. But everywhere you look, there are green tomatoes. Oh, there's a big bunch growing all the way over here. Now, so far, even though I keep eating them, I think that the dwarf tomatoes that I've been growing taste kind of like disappointment. They're not super delicious like your homegrown outdoor tomato, but I did start two other kinds. I've got the Zella Jake. I think that one's a yellow dwarf tomato, and it's growing really well. We got flowers but no fruit. And then over here, because we are, always looking for space. How did I get that in there? There we go. I have this guy in here. We've got a couple Tiny Tim dwarf tomatoes. And again, we're getting flowers. It's gonna happen, but we don't have it yet. I actually hope at some point I see this whole thing just tons and tons and tons of cherry tomatoes. My next shelf down, I do have a couple tomato plants in there, I'll show you, but is mostly my peppers. And some of them are starting to fruit. Second shelf, just to finish up tomatoes, I've got this little guy who's ready to give me a lot of fruit. And then I do have one, and I don't know how it's going to work, indeterminate tomato going all the way up the back there. That line down the center, going all the way up the back. And then it's coming out the side here. And then it's growing up the side. And then it's gone all the way. Let's see where it is. I'm sure this is going to get foggy for a minute. This is the same indeterminate tomato. And it's just doing what it wants. And I'm letting it, because it seems happy, and we will see if anything happens with that. But back down to the second shelf. Tater, say hi. Hi, Hoot. How's the puppies? Are you gardening with me? It'll be better when we move, I promise. Okay, so yeah, so we've got that going on, and then over here are my pepper plants. I've got a few different kinds. I've got a big daddy pepper, and a California Wonder, and a cherry stuffer, and a Zulu, and a sweet banana. But as you can see, we're going in here, and we are starting to get a little bit of fruit. Now, I pinch the flowers off, but I missed them. I pinched the flowers off. I want these for root development. They've been going for a long time as my house plants, and I want to be able to put them in the ground and probably overwinter them next year. But I missed those. I missed a couple flowers in the back, and now I have little peppers growing. So I'll have to decide if I'm gonna let those continue on their lives as peppers, or if I'm gonna just take those off and let the plants focus more on root development. I think they're happy and doing well. So I do have a tiny little basil over here, but we use it pretty frequently, so it never gets big. Down here on the bottom is where I used to keep my lettuce. I kept it on the bottom because it was very heavy, and I was a little worried about the shelf, which actually seems to be doing fine. but I was a little worried about the weight on the shelf, and I'm trying to protect my back because when I get a back injury as a single mom, it's not fun. It's not good. Oh my gosh, now the dogs are going to play with their squeaky toys. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? You're snorting, you're squeaking, you're making all sorts of noise while I'm trying to film. Puppers! Puppers, what are you doing? Hoot! What are you doing? But I pulled out all the lettuce, and this is where I'm going to start my seeds. I can't start tomatoes, but I can start my perennials, and that's kind of what I've been focused on. So I left the bottom part of this on. And that's specifically because of the pugs. Well, one of the pugs in particular. All right. Oh, well, I just kind of made a mess there. All right. So I don't know how that indeterminate tomato is going to do. So I went ahead and, got this little guy started. We'll see if it's needed or not. So here we are starting to get some seeds to germinate. And we've got some white strawberries, pine berries, I believe those are called. I have 3 kinds of huckleberries. These are the mountain huckleberries. Got salmon berries. I grew up eating all these kinds of berries. I've got red huckleberries, and those are very cool because I believe they are only found in the Pacific Northwest. So we will see if they grow here. They're not invasive. It's just another different kind of huckleberry. And then I've also got thimbleberries. So that's just what we're working on here on this tray, just kind of getting those things started. They do take longer to germinate. The strawberries germinated surprisingly quickly. I've actually got a tray of those. But everything else takes longer to germinate. They grow slower, so I can get them started right now so they can go in the ground as soon as we find property. All right, I've been battling my cute little dogs here because they want to get in the middle of everything. These are some long day onion seeds that I just happened to have, but I moved into a short day location. So probably not gonna have anything happen with them, but they're cute and they're satisfying to see come up like that, whereas everything else I'm growing is slow. So these ones are actually thimbleberries, which germinated relatively quick. I've only got 6 of them here and they're still pretty tiny. But we've got 6 of those going on, and then I've got a bunch, 2 per cell, I tried to do on most of them, of the pine berries, the white strawberries. So those are also starting to grow. And I have these little guys because I grow indoors. Fungus gnats are not fun. We don't have any here, and I've been growing for several months in my home, but I have had fungus gnats before, and because of that, I want to keep an eye and make sure that we do not get fungus gnats. So now my dog is up here trying to smell the onions. He will not take a bite because I am sitting here, but he would take a bite if I was not sitting here. I want to see him look really guilty. Tater, what are you doing? What are you doing, Tater? What are you doing with my plants? What's happening there? Only slightly guilty, I guess. As he goes back to trying to find out if there's anything he can eat. He misses me growing lettuce. Just tiny, tiny little living room with some tiny pugs. On this side is where I keep all my supplies. Now, I wanted everything that I used to be in this box here. It is also the cat scratching post. It was $30. It's pretty big, but I have expanded and I do have things for growing visible in my living room. Inside the kitty bench is where I keep everything. Seed starting, I've got a couple big pots, I've got a mixing bowl, a mat, all of the plant things that I can fit go in there. And they are tucked away. Put Willow's toy back. And that's how I'm gardening in my apartment right now. You gotta photobomb everything, don't you? Oh, did you come over to photobomb everything too? Hi, you gotta be involved. So hit subscribe and like this video if you want to see us go from here to a big giant garden.